Hello, this is Purge, bringing you guys a Purge coaching submission, whatever you want to call it. I hope you guys are doing well. Just got back from Sweden yesterday. I stayed a day later than everybody else because I was on Dream League one day. Sorry if you didn't see that. The Wi-Fi was really crappy and we started suddenly, so I didn't get to tweet about it. But it was really fun. I actually had a lot of fun being on that, so feel free to check out the VODs if you want. Without further ado, we are looking at a game that was submitted again on the website. If you go to purgegamers.true.io, you can go to the forums, and then on this forums there's a replay coaching submission, and it's up to 23 pages now. God, I've been casting so much that it feels weird to have a cord on my chest because you're not supposed to have a cord in front of your body because it looks bad on camera. So I just touched this and I freaked out. I was like, oh shit, my cord's on camera. But we're on fucking Purge Gamers, man. This shit does not matter. We don't care about looking good on camera, right? Anyways, submitted on the forum. This is an Invoker 3.9k MMR submitted 2 days, 3 hours ago. And sorry to everybody that I haven't gotten to, but I've been very busy the last like 2 weeks with casting and flying around the world and crap, and I'm back and I have a bunch of time off for a while here. So, all right, let's jump towards. You know what? I'm actually scared to jump to a later portion because Reborn's a bit buggy. It's been a bit buggy, so I'm gonna jump forward, at least high speed. All right, we're gonna be watching Tilted to Victory. Now, before we get too into this. If I haven't made an Invoker game in a while. Maybe I'll try to make one soon. But Invoker is quite a bit better than he was before. He got some buffs. Let me check his buffs actually. I can pull up the patch really easy. Dota2.com/685. I'm glad that they finally made the patches like easy to find. 685. If I could type correctly, at least. Alright, and we're going to search for Invoker. Alright, he got an intelligence growth increase from 3.2 to 4. So he gets an extra 0.8 damage every time he levels up. So every 10 levels he gets 8 more damage, which is pretty significant. Alacrity, speed, and damage bonus increase to be, instead of, it's basically 30 attack speed, 30 damage at level 1. And I believe the guy said that he tried this build out. And Ag's Net Scepter now adds an extra level of stats to all the points and max Deafening Blast. So basically, I guess he didn't get that buffed. Really, the Ags got buffed, and Alacrity is better, and his intelligence gain was moderately increased. What he wrote on his link was, early laning stage went okay. I was just trying out a new Invoker build where I used Alacrity to CS and push the wave. I think I did okay, but I clearly could have been more efficient. Focus on getting early Midas farming and pushing. I had some good combos and some really poor combos throughout the game. The game was rather clowny, but should showcase the importance of farming and keeping lanes pushed. I like that last point, farming and keeping lanes pushed, definitely an area where Invoker usually has problems in the mid lane. The reason it's usually an issue is because Invoker doesn't have a spammable AoE that he can use to push out the lane. And why is that important? It's important because if you push out the lane, it limits your opponent's ability to do anything. It also minimizes the time when you can be ganked by opponents. And it also lets you be more efficient. You can push the lane out, go grab a rune, or you can push the lane out and go stack a jungle camp for you or you're an ally to later farm. So that's why pushing the lanes is important. So I like this guy's ideas. They sound alright. Let's see if he can execute them in practice. Alacrity is one good way that you can maybe do that. It's not an AoE spell, but it makes you attack much faster, and it allows you to do much more damage. So hypothetically, you could be using Alacrity to accomplish those things. But we'll see if that's something that he can accomplish. Again, Alacrity will give him 30 attack speed now, and 30 damage. I'm gonna go free camera, baby.
The battle is
Prepare for battle.
Victory is assured. This one is
looks,
in the bag.
wow, he got a lot of extra stuff. Looks like he bought his own Observer Ward. I don't think that's a terrible thing to do at a lower MMR range because you can't always guarantee that your opponents will do it for you. But with the ward, I assume that he's going to be placing this high ground mid lane. And if he does that, I think that's a decent decision. It's kind of contesting the rune here. I don't know if I like this. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. He also got a lot of tangos. This is overkill from his allies, but he probably only asked for 2 and his allies gave him too many. So I don't think it's that weird to have 3 of these. And with Invoker you can kind of get away with not having that many tangos because as soon as you get a quas level, then you have a way to regen up to 3 HP per second. When you go Exhort as well, your base damage is quite good. So in Il Talisman, what that means that your base damage is actually really good. So that means he should be able to get a last hitting advantage over his opponent. He's missed 2 last hits now. Oh, I'm sorry, only 1. That was Zeus missing a last hit. I think his positioning has been fairly okay, but I'm not a very good mid player, so I might be slightly wrong on that stuff. Missing this when it happens, but I think he's been doing all right for last hitting so far. Now, first you grab Sunstrike. This is something you can maybe criticize a little, but not that much. Basically, Sunstrike, if you go Exhort first, Sunstrike is a pretty much worthless ability. You can't really use it to harass your opponent. Using it to get a kill is unlikely. But if you do go this Exhort build, you kind of... I guess it's fine, honestly, to go Exhort here. I don't know. I just feel like Sunstrike's pretty worthless. It's not worth criticizing. Ignore me. Whatever. He got Sunstrike, and it's also not worth it if he's going the Exhort Wex build, at least with one skill point in both. It's not worth it for him to get Wex at level 2 just to give him a movement and attack speed increase. It would only give him an increase of about 3%. Should add that last hit. I'm gonna criticize a lot more. Okay, like this right here. He basically shot a Sunstrike to try to deny Clarity Potion, and that's probably really not worth it, because that costs him about a little bit more than a third of his mana pool. Last hitting is by far the most important thing that you can do in your lane, and when you're Exhort, you need to deny as much as possible. His positioning is pretty good here, because he's worried about Chain Lightning bouncing to him. So I think that his positioning is fine. And now he's used Alacrity to increase his attack speed and his damage. Oh, it's only 45 mana, that's not bad at all. Yeah, I can see this build being alright. Basically just use Alacrity to spam out. Another mistake that he's had is he hasn't actually gone to eat a Tango yet. As soon as you start missing some of your HP, you need to eat a Tango earlier, especially with shared Tangos. And he also bought this Observer Ward and he hasn't placed it yet. Perhaps he was worried about a different hero in the mid matchup, but if you buy an Observer Ward for your lane, you might as well go use it, I feel. If you are pushing out lanes, killing the range creep first is the best thing you can do. That was very close. We'll see what he does with this skill build at level 4. Curious to see. He goes Exhort. This is alright, I guess. It's not terrible. I mean, Alacrity is already a pretty good ability with level 1. I kind of want him to go for a Quas so that he can have Cold Snap, because Cold Snap is such a good skill. But to be honest, using... I'll just leave this regular speed, sorry. Getting a second level of Exhort is not bad because you get the extra damage. You get 2 damage from the Int, and you also get an extra 3 per orb. So he basically puts himself at 18 plus damage here. And he went for the Midas Rush, I believe. I personally wouldn't have pulled that creep into tower range. I just would have hit it till I died, just to guarantee the last hit. I think that would have been the better move here. So yeah, this build is kind of cool, but he's been a little bit inefficient with Alacrity usage. Like, he's not getting 100% value out of his skills. He is denying some farm from his opponent, but he wasted Alacrity a little bit there. He really only used it to hit a creep once or twice. And I feel like what he should be doing is actually trading hits with the Zeus a little bit more. At least in the first laning, the first couple stages. Like, the problem with this build is that it takes him level 3 before he actually... I should really reduce the speed of my camera. Sorry guys, this will make me jumping around a little bit less often. Oops, I think it's in options. Alright, so I should turn the speed down as well, but whatever. If I smooth camera, that's alright. The problem with this build is that, yeah, you can push out lanes with Alacrity, but he's level 3 before he even gets a spell that's reasonably good. He gets Alacrity at level 3, and if you're going like Quas Wex, you have Quas earlier, and you can be regenning the whole time early on. Whereas now he's put all these skill points into Exhort. So this build kind of sucks, I think, in a little bit. It's a cool idea to try to abuse Alacrity, but I would say I would only go this build if I was going for the Quas Exhort build. Because again, Sunstrike is just completely wasted in the early game. It doesn't really do anything for him here. And he hasn't had any marginal bonus from Invoke, really. Whereas with the Quas Wex build, you get regen, you can Cold Snap harass your opponent. The only really real advantage that he got was from the Exhort damage. He could use Alacrity right now to kill creeps. The other issue is that it's a Zeus, so Zeus can still last hit really well, even if Invoker has really high base damage. So I feel like this build would be really good against a hero like Shadow Fiend or something like that, where you can deny against him. Other than that, his last hitting seems to be alright. But he should be getting more last hits. He keeps missing a few. Like, he could also just put vision on the high ground by putting an Observer Ward instead of running high ground like that. So he's just kind of been misplaying a little bit. Like, even Pudge had to bottle him up a little bit.
Thank you.
With that said, for the game, his last hits are alright. For 3.9k players, I think they're at the point where their last hitting's okay. The major difference is just that their opponents can't easily force them out of the lane and beat them through mechanical skill. So what I mean by saying that is that about 4K players are getting to the point where they understand how many last hits they're supposed to be getting, so they practice that and they aim for it. But if their opponents were better, they would still get crapped on. So like the difference between like a 4K player and a 4.5K player is a 4.5K player is marginally better at last hitting to the point where they would deny a lot more and they would zone their opponent and they would prevent them from getting those easy last hits. Both the Zeus and the Invoker have done very little about each other in this game. They've both pretty much just been focused on creeps and trading hits. And I feel like the Invoker could push his advantage of having a really strong right click and having really long range to try to beat out the Zeus a little. You can't really do that once Zeus gets a lot of Lightning Bolt levels, but in the first couple of levels you definitely can. And if Invoker would have maybe gotten a bit of a better block and kept the creep wave maybe like here, for example, then he easily could have pressured the Zeus by standing about here, or even last hitting from here. If the creep wave is here, Zeus is here, Invoker is here, and the creeps are all here. If Invoker stands here, he can trade hits with Zeus without aggroing the creeps while still also moving over to last hit. So that's like something that you can try to abuse. And I feel like if you are going this build, that's another really good thing that Alacrity gives you. You get damage and you get attack speed. Well, use that to outlast hit your opponent and to trade with your opponent. And I think that's how the Invoker maybe should have played this game a little bit more. Now the downside is that your opponents can gank you a little easier if you're standing over here versus up on the high ground, but that's something that you can work with. Did some tower damage, which is cool. He also went for the max exhort. Now I think this is starting to be a little bit of a mistake. It's good that his damage is increased here. I like that and all with his right click ability. But he's not even using exhort levels, actually. He's been on Quas this whole time, which is a giant mistake. If you are playing Invoker and you're going for this push style kind of a thing, and he's been pushing the lanes fine, like, at least go to exhort and get this extra leverage from your exhort levels. He could be hitting for an extra 27 damage, for example. And this whole time he's been on Quas. That's kind of a mistake that usually... Oh, he had to do that to get a kill. Like, for example, right now he's going to try to kill the Zeus. But he's still on Quas. Now he's going to exhort. Now it's kind of... I mean, he's actually doing a shitload of damage to this guy. That was actually a ridiculous amount of damage. Lasts for 9 seconds. That build's... That's actually pretty good, honestly. But the big mistake was that he's not swapping his orbs over, and this is pretty... This is something I would expect a 4K player to make mistakes on. They know approximately what they should be doing. They kind of know when their opponents are threatened, but they're not quite getting the min-max efficiency, and this is mechanics, basically. You're not getting maximum efficiency. You're maybe canceling an animation. You're timing your thing slightly wrong. You're not min-maxing everything. So he puts the ward down now when it's nighttime. If you really wanted to put this down, it really should have been at like 4 minutes. This is a great ward to defend yourself, I feel. But it could have been put down at a better point. He also goes into the jungle to Midas a big creep when he got his Midas, and I think this is good, but I would have cleaned up the camp. Just because he already walked all the way here, and in addition, it cleans up the camp. Luckily for him, the time that he used Midas, which may or may not have been on purpose, was when the camp was about to respawn. It was the stacking time, so he actually stacked the camp by Midas in there, in which case I think his movement was fine. See, like right there, he misclicked the creep once, and that prevented Purge from getting the dual damage. Just stuff like that. Very, very small mechanics differences are going to lead towards your game being massively influenced in different ways. I also like going Midas on Invoker. I think it's fine. You do want to get a lot of levels on this hero, because if you do, it pretty much, for the rest of the entire game, makes your skills better. It's like most heroes, once they get 4 skill points into something, the ability is pretty much at its max potential, with the exception of you being able to use it more times in battle by not dying. Well, he went way all in on that. Is he going to get the bolt? He should be dead. Yeah, he went all in on that catapult. That was a big mistake. But most skills don't really get better as you continue to level up. With Invoker, it absolutely is the case. Like Alacrity, for example, every time he gets Exhort, his Alacrity does 10 bonus damage, and every time he gets a Wex skill point, the attack speed goes up by 10. So basically, it takes like 14 levels for Alacrity to be as good as it possibly can be, and that is a very, very long time. So that Midas is going to definitely pay off in terms of that. Let's start watching his player perspective a little bit, because there's more we can talk about from this.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
There we go. He's not quite as safe about his last hit as he should be. His last hits are relatively high, but they could be a little better. I think he's going to stack the large camp here, in which case this is good. Okay, he did this slightly wrong. He just went to jungle, basically, but he should have stacked it first. Also, it wasn't really at the best timing. His creep wave is about to meet, so really he's kind of traded I mean, if you're getting wrecked in your lane, what he's doing right now is good, but he's not getting his wrecked in his lane, and he's completely fine there. So I feel like he should have not gone to jungle like this. This actually didn't accomplish very much. He would have been better off just staying in his lane. The other problem with this build is you don't get the advantage of having Forge Spirits in the early game. For Forge Spirits to be really good, you need 2 levels of Quas to increase the duration by 50%. So I just feel like this build is a little bit badly purposed. I feel like it looks like he's going the Yule's one-shot build, but I'm not a huge fan of that build. I feel like the Forge Spirit build is far better because you can pressure towers and lanes a lot better. Like in his message, he talked about wanting to push the lanes and stuff like that, and he kind of did it a few times, and it helped him pressure the Zeus, but it was a very small point of his game. Like he did it once or twice. It wasn't really as big of a focus as he would have it made out to be, and that's something to examine, to say like, this is what I wanted to do this game, did I really do it fully? And it's like, no, maybe it was a small element of your playstyle, but it wasn't a huge element. And look, again, he uses Alacrity at a point where he really didn't need to. It's a 9-second cooldown ability, and it lasts a while, but he might as well use that when it's time to use it. Of course, it's only 45 mana, really didn't cost him a whole lot, but there's no reason to cast it early if you're just waiting until the right time to cast it. This is definitely a time to fight. Oh, he did Alacrity correctly. He's just not quite playing his hero at the utmost potential, more or less.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So what he should do is, when I'm doing it for him obviously, but if he's watching this game by himself without somebody else, what he should say is like, okay, I wanted to push my lanes a lot to force my opponent to last it under tower, which is another thing that you can do to get advantage over your opponent. And he should say, did I really do that correctly? Did I really push out the lanes that often? What he should say is look at his game and say like, you know, there were a couple times that I used Alacrity where I didn't quite use it efficiently. I casted it too early when I wasn't attacking. I only ended up pushing 1 or 2 creeps with it. And he should also look at the other issues in his build. Like, oh yeah, I cast Alacrity and I got a lot of damage out of it. But remember what I talked about where I was level 2 and I was like, he got Sunstrike. I was like, did Sunstrike do anything? And you could say, you know what, Sunstrike really did fucking nothing. Like, my hero wasn't actually that good until I hit level 3 at all. Like, it just wasn't that big of an increase. I had like 3 levels where I was able to pressure. It took till level 3 before I had a big lane advantage over the Zeus, with the exception of the fact that I now had Alacrity up. And yeah, he's gonna get a fast duels in the mid lane. It's gonna allow him to solo kill people, but he could also have 4 levels in Quas right now and have a double Forge Spirit out. And when he has a double Forge Spirit out, there's no way that the Zeus can fight him directly, because he could Cold Snap and Alacrity, and he would just kill Zeus. And he keeps queuing up, like, this pushing is great, it's so much damage, but he keeps queuing up Meteor, and there's no reason to have Meteor yet, unless he's got a stack going, or he's got a Midas. You know what would have been, you know how he really should be playing this game? What he should have done is, he could cast Forge Spirit, he could send the Forges back, stack the large camp, and then once he hits this point in the game, he could basically Meteor his 5 stack of neutrals. That's what I think would be the most efficient, if he was going to go for this playstyle. He might need a 2nd level of Wex because it rolls farther. Travel distance is 465. That's still pretty good. He could definitely clear a stack with that. And it does like, what, how much damage per second? The contact damage is 145 per second, and then it has 29 for 3. So if that rolls for like, does it have like the speed or anything? Like, he's basically done nothing but passively farm this game, and I feel like he could have farmed faster and he could have lane pressured better with this build. So I think what he should have done is been more efficient with Alacrity, push the lane out more, threaten his opponent more, occasionally summon a Forge Spirit to either pressure his opponent or grow stack a neutral camp. The other problem with stacking the large camp is that he would have to Midas that one, because that one's best to Midas because it would give him the most experience. Like, he keeps shifting back into the jungle, and I feel like he hasn't really gotten the full value out of it. But he's going to Sunstrike people now endlessly, so someone will die. And that is the Yule's combo. That actually costed so much mana. He had full mana. That cost him like 700 mana. Sunstrike's like 175. Meteor Blast is 400 total. Plus the Yule's is now 175. This build is... I don't know if this build is good anymore, guys, but anyways, that stuff's all important to talk about when you're looking at the mid lane. It's about being efficient. You want to get the maximum gold potential that you can. It's not just about your ability to last hit creeps correctly. Because this guy's fine at last hitting. He's not good at last hitting, but he's fine. He's relatively... Oh, I forgot you can Midas those. That's really nice. He's like pretty good at last hitting. He's not amazing, and that's alright. Like at his skill level, this is probably fine, but what he should be doing is looking at his game and pushing it to the max. Stack large camps, meteor it later. Use alacrity to farm like crazy. That's something he could actually do pretty often. The cooldown is 15, duration is 9, so he could actually just go like Wex and Exhort levels in jungle like crazy or something. Not that he probably should do that or something, or anything, but... Wish his team had more wards up. That's a really dead hero. And now we look at the state of the game, and we basically say like he's gotten a couple kills, but mostly they're gimmies. He hasn't really set up any ganks, he hasn't really roamed around, he hasn't really been very active. He pretty much just sat in his lane and got last hits. And that's okay for Invoker, that's good, but it's not amazing. And again, he's still going for the one-shot build. And I kind of feel like he should at some point go for more quas levels. Like if you're going Exhort with quas, you should definitely get 4 quas pretty fast. Like this allows him to one-shot better because it increases his damage, but I frankly think his damage is much higher than it really needs to be. Sunstrike's kind of good against Legion, that's one thing.
Middle is missing.
But he should basically be AFK farming, is kind of how I am seeing this. He's spent a lot of time, like let's go back a little bit, hopefully this doesn't crash the game. Let's see everything he's done the last minute and see how efficient he's been. Okay. So, he just finished killing this neutral camp. What did he do? He walked all the way here, stopped, and then he walked back down to his mid lane. Boom. He just wasted like 15 seconds. I think he was doing courier stuff or something. He could have been farming this creep wave. He could have meteored this. So he basically ran to the jungle, killed one large camp, and then he ran back to the mid lane. Already inefficiency. He's probably like, oh, I'm getting pretty good farm because I'm more farm than my opponents. Doesn't really matter. It's about how efficiently you do it. So he killed the large camp, ran all the way back to mid lane, killed the camp. Then he said, I'm going to go buy my point booster now. Run all the way, buy point booster. Where does he go? Back to the jungle. In this period of time, he could have easily done many things. He could have killed 2 creep waves mid, while the courier grabs the point booster. Or he could have gone to the jungle and just hardcore jungled for like a minute or something. And by hardcore jungle, that basically means efficiently kill this camp, then you shift here and kill this camp, then you shift here and kill this camp, then you back off, they respawn, then you kill this camp, and then you kill this camp, and then you kill this camp. And he could do this with Alacrity and Forge Spirits because he attacks so damn fast and increases the attack speed or the attack damage by so much. He could actually jungle effectively with this build. And then put his Earthshaker mid or something. Let Earthshaker get free experience mid, who's probably underleveled. He's level 6. Earthshaker would love a little bit more experience. He could AFK jungle a lot earlier using Alacrity. But he hasn't really done that. He's kind of inefficiently been moving around. It hasn't been terrible, and he's doing well in this game compared to everybody else. But he should have been more efficient with this time. Movement between farming places is literally the most straightforward way to understand that you're poor at farming. Like, the levels of farming are like this. Step 1 is kill things fast. Collect gold fast while you're hitting them. Auto attack or something, for example. Auto attack them and kill them fast so you collect the gold fast. How to get your next camp? You have to move to the next place that there is farm. You have to move there efficiently and rapidly so that you spend less time not getting last hits. If you complete these 2 things, you farm extremely fast and your opponents will just simply lose because they didn't farm as efficiently as you. So that's what you have to focus on. If you're playing a mid hero that's farming items and you're not going about the whole ganking style, which is kind of counterintuitive because he basically built for the ganking style. If you go the ganking style, but with that said, you do have to farm efficiently to get to the gank items. But if you are going to AFK farm, you better farm well, and you better farm efficiently because you're losing things by not helping out your team. The game is 14-14 right now, and he's got 3 kills, and it looks like he's really accomplished a lot, but I really don't feel like he has. He just kind of lucked into a couple kills as far as I'm concerned. He outplayed the Zeus and killed him once, and he shifted over and killed the Undying that one time, but that one was pretty much just a gimme. And he hasn't TP'd to a lane, he hasn't bought a TP, he hasn't sat a TP on his hero. He's pretty much ignored all other areas of the map except for him getting last hits and occasionally shifting the jungle. And he could have been way more efficient about that. And he could easily have like an extra like Agzite piece. Like he'd have an Ogre Club or a Staff or something like that right now, easily. But he hasn't really done that. And he hasn't been efficient. So let's see what he's going to do in this one. Kills the large camp using Alacrity, that's great. He should be on Exhort here, because again, he only has 1 point of Wex, so the extra benefit that gives him is low. He basically could increase his right-click damage by 60, and he's using like 1 Wex point. Like, that is such a big deal when you're playing Invoker. You should always be mindful of what orbs you're on. Like, whenever I'm playing Quas Wex Invoker and I cast Tornado, you press WWQ, R, caster Tornado, and then I triple W, or, alright, WWQ, press R, and then immediately after I invoke, I immediately spam W to get 3 Ws up again so that I run faster. What this guy should do, every time he queues something up, immediately afterwards he should go triple exhort if he's doing damage to somebody. He should always shift that. Like, what is he doing right now? He's literally running around in circles. He could be going to the fight, he could be deciding if he wants to fight, even if he's deciding if he wants to fight. You know what he could do instead? He could just jungle. He could just right-click creeps in the meantime, you know? Like, he's actually accomplished nothing in this team fight, despite being in the area. He could have killed the small camp. He's blasted and I'm dying. Like, okay.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Like, this build is very, very limited and do shit because of his cooldowns, pretty much. And he's pretty much accomplished nothing in this fight. He actually did nothing. He did a little bit of damage. He meteored a Spectre that was pretty much already dead. Like, this is good, right-click people. I think he's just gonna die here. Like, he just accomplished so little. Oh, that's nicely done. What he should have done in that fight, and as well, he's really focusing on Alacrity. I feel like he'd be better off buying, like, Treads or something. Or Phase, maybe. He needs something that increases his attack speed. If he does really want to go this Alacrity build, or a Medallion or something, or a Forge Spirit. Like, he's got so many things that he could use to battle, rather than going the stupid one-shot build. Like, the one-shot build lets you one-shot people, but what about all this battling? He's basically got, like, his build is a mix of things. His build is a mix of one-shotting people. If you're going one-shotting, you need to move around the map and get a lot of kills with it, because that's how you're getting your farm, is by killing heroes. If you're going to go a battle build where you right-click a lot with Alacrity, then that's fine. Go for a battle build with Alacrity. I think it's fine integrating the one-shot build with that, but if you're doing that, I think he went way too heavy on Exhort and he needs more Quas. Because now when that fight started, what was he going to do? He's trying to kill 5 heroes, but he's like, oh, I can one-shot somebody. But he didn't even one-shot somebody because he didn't do the setup. He was late. So either what he should have done in that fight is blown somebody up right at the start using his one-shot and then stood in the back because he can't really battle because his invoke's on cooldown for 17 seconds. He either does that, or what he does is a smarter thing. Go 4 points in Quas, 4 points in Exhort with 1 Wex, so that he can Forge Spirit, Cold Snap, and Alacrity. So he can Alacrity himself, he can drop Forge Spirits, and then he can right-click somebody. And then after they die, he can right-click the next person, and then the next person, because his stuff isn't on cooldown, because his Forge Spirits are still up, and, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like his build was really not very efficient to transition himself from the early game until this point. Yeah, he got a lot of last hits. Yeah, he kind of exerted some lane pressure on his lane, but he could have done more. He could have stacked more efficiently, he could have had less downtime running between camps, he could have made his decisions faster as well in these fights. And this last, like, 3 minutes, Invoker has done virtually nothing. Like, actually, he's done nothing. Yeah, he doesn't want to get dueled here. Oh, he's actually gonna die. Oh, that was huge. That's a really nice hook from the Purge. Again, he was on the wrong orbs there. These 2 orbs increases his attack speed by 4%. If he was on Exhort, he would have done an extra 36 damage. This is another reason why, another reason I think he should have Treads here, is because if he is trying to abuse Exhort, and you get all this plus damage, especially with only 1 level of Wex, and it only increasing your attack speed by 30, if he had Treads on, he would attack so much faster, and you'd pretty much kill any other hero. But yeah, I feel like if you're going to go this Eul's build, or the Midas build, I would have gone maybe Treads. I kind of like the Eul's because it increases his movement speed. So I would say Midas, Null, Brown Boots with Eul's. I think that's fine. But I think he should have gone Treads immediately after the Eul's. And then I think he should build a Medallion. Or what he could do is just go like Phase Midas or Treads Midas. Treads Midas with Null Talisman, Medallion, and then get like a Blink would also work. That way he can mix this Alacrity abuse with a build that is just simply stronger, which is the Cold Snap Forge Spirit build. The one-shot build's okay, but people are too reliant on it because it's easy to do. You Eul's, you Sunstrike, you cast Meteor, and then you blast them when they hit the ground. And that's really easy to do. And it works, but his build could be better here, and it could be more efficient. He's basically, he doesn't have the mechanical skill to play Invoker correctly, pretty much. He kind of knows how to cast his spells and stuff, but it's not really leveraging him a huge amount there. So I feel like this guy could get a huge difference, and actually watching this game just makes me want to go play Invoker. Again, he's kind of he's using Wex and stuff like that to increase his movement speed by 6%, but I feel like he'd be better off just regenning. Like, he really should just have 4 quas levels. Forge Spirits is one of the best builds. It's like one of the first times his Sunstrikes have been really useful. And I'm not saying that as a flame, I just mean that as, like, he really hasn't accomplished a whole lot with these mass exhort levels other than one-shotting people. Like, yeah, his Sunstrike's going to go up by, like, 60 damage or something like that once he finishes his Ags, and that's cool and all, but Ags is not the item that I would have built this game, especially because it seems like he's not very good at cycling his skills. Ags is only an item you should buy if you truly feel strong on Invoker and you really feel like you're going to be able to cycle through all of your abilities correctly. If you don't feel comfortable at doing that, you should go a different item build. It's pretty fire and forget. Like, he just cast Forge Spirit for the first time, and he still only has 3 levels of quas. You should have two Forge Spirits. It's a huge thing for lane presence. It helps a lot.
Middle tower is under attack.
And he's also missing a lot of HP. He should definitely be in quas this whole time. But he seems to not realize that. Looks like he's Sunstrike somewhere. I'll go back to his player perspective. Alright, so what is he doing now? He lost a lot of HP here. He's running all the way through his base just to go to mid lane. If he had a TP, he could have TP'd there. Or he just could have sat in the jungle and farmed the jungle, using quas to regen and Forge Spirit to tank. So he's now walked all the way around. He's now shifting towards the fight finally. Like, he could have been here the whole time. He's still scared to go in. He really should not be scared. That was kind of overkill, I feel. He used Alacrity himself. He didn't. Whatever. That was alright. But he got there so late, you know? He spent 40 seconds to run all the way around just to come this way. He could have just sat in the jungle and farmed, and then eventually showed up. Now he's finally using quas. Alright, he finally got a second quas level. But yeah, he definitely has to back off here. This is too dangerous. I would go to the jungle now and just AFK jungle with Alacrity again. But he wasted like 3 seconds walking to the right. And now he's also interrupting farm with the Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter could have farmed this instead of him. What I would have done, I think, is shifted to the medium camp and then the large camp and then gone top. Or I would have done like gone straight top or something. You can TP top. It's another thing you could have done there. But he kind of dicked his gyro over by farming there. He's also not ready for the mid fight. Again, he hasn't bought a TP yet. You can buy Boots of Travel on this build as well, but frankly, I think the Treads is just, I don't know. Like, yeah, you've got a Midas and all, but Treads is just so good. When you go Exhort, you already have all this extra plus damage, you might as well buy Treads. I feel like too many Invoker players, when they play Invoker, they're like, I can get away with not having a Boots upgrade because I'm freaking Invoker and I got a Midas, so I'm gonna eventually get BOTs. But the Tread's extra value is too good to pass up, I think. He waited, I think, a little too long to use that, but whatever. He's probably trying to steal the kill. The reason I brought up the Blink build, by the way, is because it lets you get into position for a Forged Spirit and a Cold Snap a little easier, and it makes up for your lack of movement speed that you would lose by not having Yules and having a low Wex. I think that's fine, though. He's got Eggs now. Gets 100 damage now from his Alacrity, which is really high. I don't know if it is a good... It's not a good Blink game, actually, because it's Spectre. Because Spectre can get on top of you. You could also go Necro 3. Necro 3 is really common when you go Cold Snap Forge Spirit. I think Necro's still fine right now. Works with Blink really well. Can basically Blink Initiate on a hero. Blink Initiate on somebody, Forge Spirit, Cold Snap, and right-click them and they should die in a lot of cases. I feel like that build's pretty fun. I feel like maybe that's how I should play Invoker, because I don't scale very well when I play Invoker personally, because I go with Quas Wex. The Quas Wex build doesn't scale very far. But I think this build is a hybrid of the build that this guy is doing right now is maybe something that can be done in Invoker. Go Exhort, go to the mid lane, and get last hits and farm a lot. Because most Invoker builds, you end up, if you don't get a lot of ganks off, you just spend a lot of time sitting around and farming. And if you go the Exhort build, I feel like you can actually farm very rapidly. You could also go a Deso at some point if you really wanted to. I think that would work decently with this build. Or, no, I would probably go AC, I think, over Deso. Because Invoker doesn't really have the best armor. His armor's not bad. His agility is actually pretty good, but more armor would be liked on this hero. So maybe I would go AC over a Deso, because then I'm increasing the attack speed of my Forge Spirits as well. That's a good Sunstrike. Oh, good. Spec did die, I was going to say. That would have really sucked. Looks like he's buying Boots of Travel now. Kind of late to have that picked up. And to be honest, I don't feel like he's even going to use it correctly, because he keeps not showing up to team fights. Like, wow, he got a Sunstrike, but that's like one of the few times that he's actually team fought with his team. He's contributing by Sunstriking, but it's fucking 26 minutes in the game, man. You've got a Yule Scepter, you could be one-shotting somebody every single fight, and he's just not doing that. He's just kind of passively farming an AFK, and he's really not participating with his team correctly, I feel. One kind of cool thing about Alacrity actually is buffing up catapults. It might be fun. Or neutrals. You can actually Alacrity your Necro 3 melee. I think that's actually very strong. And yeah, he's faster now that he has Boots of Travel and stuff, but you don't wait this long in the game just to spend 2,000 gold on an item that lets you TP around. Like, if you're using it correctly, it's good. But the way that he should be using this is he should be teleporting to every single fight that his allies are at. Is he preparing a Sunstrike? I'm not sure what he's doing. He could be using Midas. If he's going to try to kill the Spectre, he should not have Meteor. If he does have Meteor, he should also have Sunstrike. Like, he just lost more farming efficiency just now, for example. So I feel like this game is going to kind of continue on the same way that it's at. Which is basically the Invoker is going to farm at like 50% efficiency, I would say. I feel like he could farm way faster this game. 50% is probably pretty accurate. Probably somewhere between 50 and 70% efficiency is what this guy's farming at. And by 70%, I basically mean that let's assume that a player playing perfectly this game would have the difference of the farm. So a perfect player would have 100% of the farm, and let's say 10,000 gold. A player like this guy would be sitting at about 7,000 gold, which is an entire item difference. That's like a Necro 2 right now. Well, it'd be a Necro 3 basically, because the gold that he has added to 3,000 is basically a Necro 3. So the difference would be a really good player would have at least a Necro 3 here, plus he would be fighting in way more fights, which means that he would have even more items. And basically the game would be over right now, because the Invoker would have helped their team in a way that would have made things completely one-sided. So even passive farming, like just talking about passive farming, this guy should have like 30% more farm. Well, it's more like 50% more farm when you do the math on it. But his farming efficiency is to the point where I just want to play Invoker and do it better than him. If you guys know what I mean. So I think that's about all I'll focus on here. It's really about efficiency. He's also not showing up to team fights, and it seems like he's getting a bit flustered. He's also not rotating through his spells correctly. And if you're playing Invoker, you need to cast more spells. He's pretty much just been casting Sunstrike, Forge Spirit, well, mostly Sunstrike, Chaos Meteor, and Alacrity. He really hasn't gotten any other spells. There's not really a lot of cold spells that you're going to want to use, but I think Ice Wall is something that he could be using. 100% movement speed slow, and it does 48 damage per second. That's actually okay. The damage component of Ice Wall is not bad. So once you get a couple levels of Quas here, he's got 5 levels technically because of Eggs, but even if you only have 4 levels, you're still talking about an 80% slow. And I think that's also something that he can use in connection. Well, I don't know what word I'm looking for. He could use a combination, in combination with his Yule Scepter. If he doesn't want to one-shot people, Yule somebody, cast Forge Spirits, put the Ice Wall down, and just right-click the shit out of him until he dies. And that's something he can do. So I would have liked to see... I think if I was going to do this build, I would go Midas Treads with a Blink Dagger, and then I would make Necro 3. And then after Necro 3, I'd maybe make an Ags or an AC, depending. Maybe... If I was worried about a carry getting on top of me, I would make an Ags. Or an AC. If I'm just generally team fighting a lot, then I would get an Ags. And then afterwards, I would make the opposite. Either a BKB or an AC. Probably BKB would be your 4th item for sure. Sometimes BKB after Necro 3. I think that's pretty clear-cut the build that I would do on Invoker that I think would be best. And then I would possibly Alacrity my melee creep as well, depending. I think that would be pretty good to increase the attack speed, because those things attack stupidly fast when you alacrity them. So I think that's I guess the attack speed is not very high in alacrity, but the attack damage going up might be good. Kind of depends. Depends who's going to really attack the fastest. If you go treads, I would say alacrity yourself. Anyways, that's just criticism on this guy. He needs to be more efficient about farming. Again, whenever you go to the jungle, you have to do it fast. Go from camp to camp to camp to camp. Try to spend little downtime between each camp. Don't waste a lot of time moving from one camp to the other. Don't run in the jungle just to kill one camp just to run back into your mid lane because there's no creeps there for 10 seconds. Makes more sense to wait 10 seconds, kill the creep wave rapidly, and then go to the jungle to farm. But I think this is about all I'm going to focus on this game because frankly this guy's kind of played this game poorly. In the sense that if he was a better player, he could have exerted a much bigger focus on this game, rather through farming or through team fighting, both the things that he needs to work on. So I think that's all for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. I am back to daily videos. Sorry for the long break, and I will see you tomorrow. Probably going to stream. All right.